The juice is gone, everybody. The juice is gone. The glass, we were arguing for weeks about half full, half empty. Where is it? The glass contains nothing at this point. It's shattered. It's on the ground. Florida State loses 3 in a row. And if the stands, the folks in the stands at Doak Campbell Stadium are any indication as to where confidence lies within this fan base about the coaching staff and the direction of Florida State football, Gene Williams, founder, administrator of Warchant.com, confidence is gone. It's amazing how last year, Mike Norvell, this coaching staff, Florida State, was able to take all of the equity built in a 13-0 run and a snub, spend it all, and send its credit report into oblivion. And then, after all the work and the heavy lifting they did in the offseason, bringing in new coordinators, setting a new direction for this program, setting a new course, starting with a major win over Alabama, getting equity back, and Gene, in the matter of 3 weeks, they spent it all again. Here we are. Good afternoon, sir. How has your afternoon been?
It was splendid, Tom. How was yours? It was disgusting. I mean, I've not seen a team regress. I mean, one of the comments I remember at that Alabama game, Tom, we talked about how surprised we were at how buttoned up they were, how sharp they were with a new coaching staff, all these new players. And it's gotten progressively worse. After those 2 warm-up games, it's unbelievable. Does Norvell want to get fired? What's going on? I mean, to me, look, it was a bad first half. You got pushed around a lot, but you're up a touchdown, and you're getting the ball at the second half. You go in at halftime. You're supposed to make adjustments. You figure, okay, it's going to be okay. Florida State, to me, that's all on coaching the second half, that they dominated you in the second half. Your first 5 drives, 3 3-and-outs, a fumble, and a field goal. And you're going against a mediocre defensive team. You're at home, and you have the whole first half film to look at and halftime to heal up. I get it. You're down a bunch of receivers. Your tight end was out. You didn't have all your tools out there. But just they kept shooting themselves in the foot over and over again. And I was making excuses. I really thought, look, the Virginia game was flukish. I thought they should have won that game. Some weird crap happened during the game. Miami clearly was just a better team. They really were player for player. They had, they made a run of it a little bit there late. So, you're going to get Pitt. You're a double-digit point favorite. You should get back on, your wheels under you and roll over these guys. And just that performance was pathetic. And this is reminiscent of what we saw last season, Tom. So ultimately, it has to come back to a coaching staff because that same head coach was there last year.
Yeah, I think, the Virginia game, there are circumstances there that you can easily explain. Miami, you're right. They're the better football team. You should have been closer at half, but Miami was the better football team. But the problem is, Gene, that those losses take a toll. They have a real impact on confidence week to week, where your head's at. How's your mental between the week, whether it's a defensive player or an offensive
player? Yeah, but that's the coaches have to get their minds right.
Absolutely, and that's why they're paid gobs of money. But it does take a toll, and that's why the circumstances around this game, we talked about it a lot this week on our various shows, it's a sleepy nooner. It's against a Pitt team that's hungry. They're not going to bail you out with the style that they play. They feel confident in the quarterback that they just found. The only thing that you had going for you was it was here and it was at home. And you felt like you might have weathered it at halftime because, let's face it, that last touchdown's a prayer. It's answered. But you say, okay, everybody settle down. It's 21-14. There's 6 seconds to go. They can't do anything, even though they wanted to play for 10 more minutes because their coach made decisions like an asshole. Sorry, that's my one for today.
Which is stupid because you got the ball at midfield because of that idiotic thing, and FSU didn't take advantage.
And there it is. And therein lies the game. They gifted you because their coach committed hubris with a second left. They gifted you field position because they were stupid. And that drive to start the second half goes 3 and out. And the next thing you know, they're in the ball game. It's a tie game, and it feels like even when it's tied that you're not winning the ball game. It feels like you're losing on the scoreboard, and that's what this whole momentum of losing multiple games in a row can do to you from a confidence standpoint.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I jumped on the phone as soon as the third time Blake Nicholson got burned over the middle. Look, Tom, we've talked about it in the past. You've touched on it already. But I don't understand how in the year 2025, in the year of our Lord, we can't recruit linebackers that can move left and right. I feel like our linebackers would have been good in 2005, 2006, but in this type of football, if your linebackers can't cover, they're not linebackers. They can't play here. So I don't know if it's more of Mike just can't get the guys in, or is it schematic, or that's just my biggest pet peeve. If our linebackers were just like a step faster, we probably could have won the game. But it's like you're putting AJ Cottrell and Nicholson trying to cover Reed, who's like he runs like a 4-3. It's not going to happen. They're going to get burned every time. So I don't know if you think there's something that they could like put a big safety there as a spy, or what we could do like going forward. But or if it's just like we just don't have the guys for it. But I'll hang up and listen to you guys. But have a good Saturday.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate
Thanks, Nate.
it. And if that was the third time that happened to Blake, that must have been you called in the first quarter. The thing I'd say is if you were in coverage and in zone, I don't think it's all that bad. But the problem is, I said in the beginning, Gene, if you're going to have to bring extra rushers because you can't generate a pass rush, even with 4, like you can't consistently do that when they line up with 4 guys, then these linebackers are in isolation, and we already know that they can't cover it, man. Like even Herring, when he was brought in, and he was one of the big gets in the offseason, you thought we were going to be running Tony White's zone-based scheme. But if you saw, a lot of those breakdowns today were man-on-man because Florida State is bringing extra pressure because they're forced to, because the Pitt offensive line is able to hold up against Florida State even when you're going neutral numbers with a 4-man rush. I think that's part of it. What do you see out there, Gene?
Yeah, same thing we saw against Virginia that, like you said, they could not get the rush, bringing 3 or 4. A lot of times I was not happy with them bringing 3 either. That was just when he just sat back there all day. Well, it goes back to Virginia again. Remember all the crossing routes they did on short? Every time they needed a few yards, they do those plays, and they'd isolate the linebackers. I think it's a talent thing, to Nate's question. I think you don't have the talent at the linebacker position. It goes back to recruiting. It goes back to portal. You got a couple guys that are okay in certain situations, but I mean, they lose linebackers. Speaking of Nicholson, and some of them missed several opportunities at the quarterback too because they overran plays. They didn't contain. I mean, they're very weak, and I think it's I'm sure there's some scheme issues there. You've got to scheme around it to some extent, but I just think you really lack talent. And teams are seeing that on film and taking full advantage of it, as we saw today.
Hey, gentlemen, how y'all doing? Yeah, I'm over here in Kuwait.
Holy cow. Well, congratulations, first of all, Glenn, on being the longest distance caller that we've had on the post-game show, and the floor is yours.
Well, you got to take the wins where you can. Well, gentlemen, I grew up in the upstate of South Carolina in Greenwood, and back in the 90s going through school, me and my buddy Logan used to go through the halls as the only 2 FSU fans. The Clemson fans up there, they'd see our hats, and they'd just avert their gaze because they knew they weren't good enough. And now you look at what's going on, and you have to ask yourself, we went that atrocious season last year. Is that an FSU coach? And what's going on this year with losses to Virginia, now Pitt, is that an FSU coach? And you look at the lack of recruiting that we've had, I don't see how it can get better. Year after year, a bad recruiting class is going to the portal to get that little hit of that portal crack. And, gentlemen, I just don't – it's a lot of money. I don't know where we're going to get it from. But if you have an admiral that his ship runs aground, it don't matter if he's asleep. It's still going to fall on him. It's still his fault because he's the captain of the ship. And it's just a sad day for Florida State football. I kind of feel like a Gamecock fan, and I never thought I'd say it.
Fair enough. Thank you, Glenn.
Good call, Glenn. Thanks for calling in.
Tom, you nailed it, brother. You nailed it. If you got the 90-second time limit, just cut me off, Tom. I got a lot to say, but I'll try to get it all in. Number one, good talking to you guys. Thank you for what you guys do. Tom, you're going to probably have to sprinkly dinkly me, man, and get me off the ledge because I'm upset and distraught, brother. I'm more upset this year than I was last year. It's just, and it stems from, I was a fan at 7, I'm an alum, and it's just bad. Try to get to my point. I got a lot of things to say, but I'll just get, when Tony White was hired, I wanted to kind of call you guys and you and Jeff and kind of talk to you because I coached for Coach Long for like 3 years out of New Mexico. Now, I didn't know Tony, and I didn't know Zach Arnett. They were behind me. But my 8-year college coaching career, however it's set up, I went against that defense. I was offense coach. I went against that defense every day for 8 years and just kind of worked out that way. And they are getting beat just how you beat them. You run the ball in a 3-man front. You throw the ball to the backside of the backfield. They're always open. It's great. And, and it's a hokey defense, man. It's kind of like Gus's hokey offense. And where are they, who runs that? Nobody runs that defense in the SEC. No one runs that in the pros and Big Ten. Where do they run it and have success at? University of New Mexico, San Diego State. That's the Mountain West. You can run that stuff against players like that. And I just, it's just bad. I thought it was bad. I always agree with you guys, you and Jeff, when I listen to you, almost lockstep. And I was really surprised at how measured you guys were after the Virginia loss, because I thought it was really, really bad that time. And you're just seeing it. I mean, you're an O-line guy. That was my niche. And you see a 3-man front. Yeah, that's what I want to do. All right, bring a 3-man front. And we were just getting monstered. And I drank the Kool-Aid against Alabama, but they look night and day. It's not even the same. And I don't think these kids are not trying hard. I think it goes back again to talent. I think you and Jeff talked about it just the other day, Tom, about how, it wasn't maybe a mental, wasn't between the ears. It was just they don't have it, and they don't.
Yep. They don't. I had to take you at your word there, Joey. I'm sorry. We got you. I gave you a bonus 15, 20 seconds. It's the Virginia game, for just a moment, was disappointing to me because I think they wanted to scheme up just enough to get ahead, and then from there, Virginia turns one-dimensional. And the offense farted around a little bit there in the first quarter and the first half, Gene, because they did generate 2 interceptions in the first half of that game with the 3-3-5 by playing coverage. But Joey's right. I mean, you can't find me an NFL team or an SEC team that runs a 3-3-5 and is successful with it. So I can understand that criticism. But I also don't know how much Tony has to work with. That's why we were all blown away by the Alabama product. Like, holy cow, how the hell did you do that against Alabama? But unfortunately, that looks more and more like the outlier with every quarter of football that we watch, right?
And they didn't have the film, that I think these other suits have. But to going back to Joey's point there, one thing, I get it to an extent, but I think to me, it's a bigger talent thing. I think because, Tom, if you have some capable linebackers who are pretty good in coverage, are we having this conversation about the 3-3-5 right now? Because that is getting exposed. The coaches are seeing that on film. They're isolating those guys on these routes, and they're getting destroyed to me. I mean, to me, that's ultimately it. Yeah, I get it. The scheme's a little off and maybe not a major college football type scheme you want to use. But I think if you had some decent linebackers, I think FSU's got one loss right now.